Well, hello, and thank you for watching my video. You've probably all heard the videos, the statements, the pundits who say, absolutely, you should have updated to Windows 10 by now. And I'm going to give a qualified disagreement to that. There are certain circumstances under which you will not want to have made that transition. Now, if you have already, and these circumstances apply to you, then maybe you'll want to roll back. Hopefully you've kept to the way to do that. But here's some of the reasons why you might not want to upgrade to Windows 10. Upgrade? Let me rephrase. Migrate. Microsoft wants you to believe it's an upgrade. I would consider it a migration instead. Saying it's an upgrade is too generous. Now, here's one of the reasons why you might not want to make that transition, that migration. This is a little netbook made by Acer, and it is the Acer Aspire One 721-3574. So you can look up the stats on it, find out exactly what it has. It meets the recommended minimum hardware qualifications for Windows 10. Exceeds it. In fact, I added extra memory to it when I first got it, and so I've got it at full capacity memory. You can't upgrade the processor, unfortunately. And I also put an SSD in it. I made the migration on this to Windows 10, and frankly, it runs like a dog, and that's an insult to dogs. Only reason it still has Windows 10 on it is this doesn't get a whole lot of use, and it is my wife who normally uses it. She wants to use Windows for the present, and if it gets to the point where this just is not adequate for her with Windows 10, we'll shift to new hardware for her. And then I'll take it and I'll put Linux on it, because Windows just is not satisfactory, in my opinion. Another reason you might not want to make the migration to Windows 10 is in other hardware that you might have. And in this case, it's not about the operating system itself running slow, but rather no longer having driver support for your peripherals. I have one peripheral in particular that is part of my workflow regularly, and I do not want to surrender that piece of hardware. For me to do so would require that I replace it with a $450 piece of equipment, and this works perfectly fine. Just it doesn't have the driver support for Windows 10. My best option in this case is keeping my Windows 7 machine that is the platform for it, and allowing that to be a standalone workstation. The peripheral I'm talking about is this scanner right back here. And if you look closely, you'll be able to see that it is a large format scanner, what they call the A3 format. It's made by Logitech, and the original drivers for it were for Vista, but it still worked great under Windows 7, and it continues to work great. Because I use this and I don't want to shell out the bucks for another expensive peripheral, for me the simplest answer is to keep this piece of hardware, well, it's the one running that screen right there. It's a Dell. Oh, come on. It has the fingerprint recognition system, and sometimes I have to get lined up just perfectly in order for it to work. But In any case, it's another older piece of hardware, not as old as the scanner. The scanner's over a dozen years old, but the little Dell Bear, it's only about 8 years old. Again, a good piece of hardware, and I'm still using it. And I have some upgrades I'm going to do on it in a later video. But I upgraded it to Windows 10, migrated to Windows 10, and decided, well, I'm not getting the results that I need with the software platform that I have and this particular scanner. So I rolled back to Windows 7, and it's going to stay that way. There are ways of keeping safe doing that. You just take the system off your network. Don't connect it to a business network. Don't connect it to the internet. For absolute safety, I would go into settings and disable the Ethernet adapter and the Wi-Fi adapter, and then just to be double safe, well, you never plug an Ethernet cable into it, and if you want to go into your router and disable the MAC address for that particular piece of hardware, you can do that, and then you can't accidentally connect to it if that memory of your login to your router and etc. is still in your system, and the Wi-Fi adapter happens to accidentally get turned on. So you can stay safe, just take it offline. Other examples of when you might not want to migrate to Windows 10, and once again, I'm going to say it's a migration, not an upgrade. If you have philosophical issues with Redmond, Microsoft Corporation, for example, the fact that they decided that they knew better than you, that you should upgrade their term to Windows 10, and so they pushed it hard and pushed it onto people's computers as what I would call foistware, made the migration for them without them actually consenting to it, just as part of their regular update cycle. That's bad business, and that alone would have me upset with Microsoft. There are other reasons I've gotten upset with Microsoft over the years, and so the point of that is, if you have philosophical issues with Microsoft, there's a good reason not to make the migration to Windows 10, but make a migration to a different platform, which is what I'm doing. So, reasons to not migrate to Windows 10. If you don't fit into one of these categories, your hardware runs Windows 10 great, you don't have peripherals that need an older platform, need older drivers, you don't really care about Redmond's spying on you, their data collection, they're thinking they know better than you about when to update your computer, and all of that. If those don't apply to you, absolutely, make the migration. Go to Windows 10. Unless you're willing to make a different migration. And I would suggest Linux. And I'll talk to you about that in a later video. Thanks for watching.